People say kids should come first in marriage, but what if I told you that the fastest way to ruin your relationship is to have kids early in marriage? So in this video, let me introduce you to the mistakes that couples make early in their marriage with children and how to successfully avoid those mistakes. So if you've not subscribed to my channel, please do that right now, and feel free to always drop a comment, a question, or a notification. So here is the number one problem. We don't get all the time to enjoy ourselves while dating. That's why we go into marriage with expectations. The early stage of your relationship is very important because these are times when you exhaust yourselves on yourself, especially if you are a Christian, like you are doing Christian dating where of course you are not permitted. The law of God doesn't permit you to really have a lot of intimacy, like sexual intimacy and a level of intimacy that couples share in marriage. And of course, because of these restrictions, it is required of you to be careful on how you carry yourself in the early stage of your marriage when you finally marry, because during the dating stage of relationship is where you have to do a lot of work that so many people don't do. Like some people don't even have time to date. Like you meet someone today and you get married to the person tomorrow, maybe in a couple of months. And of course, sometimes it works perfectly well, because I believe that the number of months or years you spend in dating does not determine a successful marriage relationship. It's all about maturity and hooking up with the right person. So you can spend all the time while dating and still get into a relationship and still feel in the marriage. So, but nevertheless, no amount of time given in dating is enough for partners to really enjoy themselves. And that is number one problem. So the second problem here is societal pressure or family pressure, like parental pressure. Like I'm trying to tell you the problems that leads to what I want to talk about, having children early in the relationship and being able to manage them properly, or why you should not have children early in the relationship. So we have situations where parents are putting pressure on you to get married, and of course you don't have all the time to really spend with your partner, getting to know the person before you finally marry the person. Like there are some people that really have the opportunity to build a level of intimacy before they get wedded. Like they get to learn themselves, their temperament, their character, their approach, their perspective in life, their vision. They bond so much before they marry, and once they marry, a lot of things becomes more easier. But there are so many persons who don't have such time, and that is the problem I'm trying to point out here. And of course, finally, when you finally get married and you don't have the time to date yourself again because you didn't date properly before you marry, that is when having children becomes a problem, because you don't need a child at that moment. Because having a child is like having another thing that draws your attention, draws your focus. And of course, when you want to date someone, you are getting to know the person, you are getting to study the person, you are getting to align with the person, to bond with the person, to know what works for the both of you. And that is what we do in the early stage of our marriage. Like the 2 years of your marriage should be a time you dedicate to knowing yourself. Like I made that mistake. Yeah, I didn't know better when I got married, and of course I made my mistakes, and I see a lot of couples today who are still making that mistake. So the first year of your marriage and the second year of your marriage, even the third year of your marriage, is very important that you understand that it is a time to dedicate to yourself, because you need to know yourself. Because of course, this is the foundation of your marriage. Marriage is a lifetime experience, and the foundation must be very strong. And of course, the foundation there is the early stage of your marriage. What you do in the early stage of your marriage is going to really affect the whole process and the whole time you're going to spend with your partner. So the first 2 years and the third year of your marriage is important to dedicate it to yourself. Like I know some couples can't really handle this, but trust me, that is the best approach to having a strong foundation for a healthy marriage. Now, letting kids to come in between the both of you when you are still yet to know yourselves, you are still yet to understand yourself, it is very distracting and it is very exhausting. Yeah, kids, they are beautiful, they are blessings from God, but it's always good to have plannings for them and be sure that you are ready for what is coming, because they come with a whole lot of stuff that you may not even expect. Like most marriages are going through some challenges today because of the kids. The attention is divided. Yes, it's not just the woman. Sometimes the man's attention is divided, because when the man, especially in a society where the man is meant to be providing financially to support the family, like That is the societal expectation. In a process like that, you see the man hustling and hunting for money and don't even have time for the wife. And of course, that's not okay for a new relationship that you've not really bonded or known yourself properly. And also in the side of the woman, you see her trying to, breastfeed the baby, cuddle the baby, give the baby the attention. And some babies can really be disturbing. Like every baby is different, and sometimes they can be, they can turn your life upside down. And when the woman is struggling to give her baby attention, of course, the man equally needs the attention. And you see how babies and children come into the marriage and they take away everything from the couple. And that is when sometimes problems begin to set in, because both of you have emotional needs. And when these needs are unmet, that is when you begin to experience loneliness and difficulty in the marriage. And sometimes conflict will just begin to, come up from where you never knew it's coming up from. But of course, both of you are starved of your love, emotional support, and everything that you need or what you came looking for in the marriage. So you have to understand that marriage is first of all about you and your partner. It's first of all about you and your partner before the children. And sometimes we are lost in the verge of trying to satisfy the children that we leave our partners behind. Like, when was the last time you tried meeting the needs of your partner? Emotional needs, financial needs. Like, you see couples trying to meet the children's needs, school fees, buying them things, feeding them, and you don't even care about what your partner needs financially. You don't care about what your partner needs emotionally. Not like you don't care, but you don't have time for that because everything is poured into the children. And that is why it is very important to prioritize the times to receive your child. Like, if you are just getting into marriage, you don't just, just start giving birth or delivering. It's important to plan for each of the baby that is going to step into your life, into your marriages. It's so important. If the baby one comes, make sure that you are ready for baby two before the baby two comes in. If the baby two comes in, make sure that you are properly prepared and ready to receive the third baby. You don't just give birth because you want 5 children. You just keep giving birth. You give them 2 years space. You say, okay, after 2 years, I'm going to have another baby. After 3 years, I'm going to... You have to be prepared emotionally, financially, health-wise, relationship-wise. You have to be sure that you are available and you are ready for what is coming. That is why we have a lot of children that are untrained, because their parents just had them because they had the mindset of having a child, not the readiness to train the child. Because training the child begins from your own readiness. You have to be prepared to invest in the child, especially financially, and being available. Like, some people are working class, you don't have time, but you want the babies, you want to give birth to children, and your plans is just to leave the kids with your maid. That goes a long way to affect not just your marriage, but the children as well. So set boundaries. Know that your kids come second. Like, your marriage comes first before the kids. So you have to plan to be there for each other. Know when to say no to your baby and when to say yes to your partner. And that is your boundaries. Once it's time for this, give that time to what it belongs to. Just like the Bible says, give to God what belongs to God and give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar. So you don't run without control. So know when to give attention to your partner and know when to give attention to your children. And of course, that creates the balance that you need. So secondly is to feed your partner's emotions. You have to discover what makes your partner feel loved and accepted. Then plan on how to be giving it to them. You have to plan about this. You have to just be strategic about that. First of all is to find out what makes them feel loved, because everybody has a love language. So when you find out what makes them feel loved, you have to plan to do those things, like create time, create opportunities to do those things, and not allowing your children to take all your energy, because children can really be so demanding and they never stop being demanding. But if you plan that, okay, you're going to do these things to make sure that your partner is happy, maybe on weekly basis, and of course you have to create the balance in such a way that you don't tear, like you don't burn out. So the third thing to do is to share the children's responsibilities. Like I said earlier, the children's needs can be very demanding. So it is not what you leave for one particular person. You don't leave it for your partner and claim to be busy and all that. You have to be available. You have to know what to do, how to help, how to be available, and make sure that the burden is lifted. Because if you leave it for your partner, it can really be very exhausting, and that is when they will not have time for you. Because when one person is trying to meet all the children's needs, of course, they wouldn't have time for you. But when the responsibility is shared, you just get over the job quickly. Like he's like working, and both of you put hands together and finish up with what the children need and focus on yourself. Then have time for yourself. But when you leave it for one person, that person is not necessarily going to be available for you, and that is when you may be feeling lonely and feel like they don't care, or they are just giving attention to their children. But of course, they need help, because the children's needs must be met, especially their basic needs, their primary needs must be met. So when the responsibility of raising the kids is shared, that's when everything becomes more easier. You create more time for yourself because both of you are working together. So finally, on the way to manage your kids in marriage is to communicate openly, because sometimes your partner can be giving attention to the children and you may think that they don't care about you simply because they get busy with the children. But of course, when someone is busy with one thing, they may not necessarily be thinking about you. So don't assume that they should know what to do for you, or how to, minister to you, or be there for you. Talk about what you want to have. Talk about how you feel. Talk about what your expectations are, and that is when it can be met. Because when you express yourself, you curate the awareness, and your partner has the consciousness of the fact that this is what your need is, and they plan on meeting them. So being silent about your needs, or feeling bad that your partner doesn't care just because the children are around or available, is never going to solve a problem in your relationship. So whatever you want from your partner, communicate effectively. Be open, be bold enough to say how you feel or what your expectations are from them. And that is when balance will be created. Because when your partner understands that, yeah, while they are busy with this, you have asked for that, of course, they're going to go a long way to try to meet your needs. And that makes the marriage work. If you put your kids above your marriage, you will end up losing both the marriage and the children, because a broken marriage, of course, affects the children negatively. So you need the marriage to be together so that the children will also be so healthy in the relationship. So there is need to create balance. It's either you are getting into a new relationship, you are prioritizing the time you're going to spend with your partner to bond before having kids, or if you already have kids, you can just practice these things I talked about in this video. And I hope you like this video. Please give me a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe and drop a comment on the comment section. Thank you for watching.